The galaxy celebrated the day humanity was declared extinct. After centuries of relentless war, the united alien empires stood before the Galactic Council and watched as Earth's blue sphere dissolved beneath the fire of stellar weapons. Human fleets had been hunted to the last ship, colonies had vanished one after another, and every known outpost had fallen silent. History books recorded the end of mankind, monuments were raised to commemorate the victory, and children across 1,000 worlds learned that humans were nothing more than a cautionary tale about defying the galaxy. For nearly 300 years, peace followed. Trade flourished, borders disappeared, and no one questioned whether a single human still breathed. Until one day, an ancient deep space probe drifting between forgotten stars detected a signal unlike any ever recorded. It was a simple message, repeated endlessly across every frequency in flawless galactic standard: Human Colony Atlas acknowledges your approach. State your intentions. At first, the Council laughed. They assumed pirates had uncovered an old transmitter or some scavengers were playing with forgotten technology. Still, curiosity demanded investigation. The 7th Exploration Armada, over 8,000 warships representing every major empire, was dispatched to locate the mysterious source. What they found shattered everything they believed. Hidden inside a nebula so dense that no sensor could penetrate it lay a star system absent from every known map. It was impossible. Entire fleets had surveyed this region centuries before. Yet now a brilliant yellow star burned at its center, surrounded by lush worlds and colossal orbital structures that dwarfed moons. Artificial rings circled planets like glowing halos, while impossible megastructures harvested energy directly from the star. Millions of ships drifted peacefully through space, but none resembled any known human vessel. They were sleek, black, and impossibly large, their hulls covered in shifting silver patterns that looked almost alive. Before the alien fleet could react, every weapon system aboard every ship shut down simultaneously. Engines powered off. Communications froze. Navigation controls locked. Thousands of commanders stared helplessly as their vessels drifted toward the system under an invisible force. Panic spread across the Armada. No hacking technology in recorded history could override so many independent military systems at once. Then every screen illuminated with the face of an elderly human woman wearing a simple gray uniform. Her silver hair was neatly tied behind her head, and deep wrinkles framed calm blue eyes that showed neither fear nor hatred. "Welcome," she said softly. "You have entered Colony Atlas. We have awaited your arrival for 287 years." Silence filled every bridge. Admirals who had spent lifetimes believing humanity extinct suddenly found themselves staring at living proof that history had been wrong. One trembling commander finally found enough control over his communications to ask, How did you survive?" The woman smiled sadly. "You never hunted humanity to extinction. You hunted only those willing to be found." She explained that decades before Earth's fall, humanity's greatest scientists had predicted the inevitable defeat. Instead of committing every resource to the war, they launched one final mission in complete secrecy. A convoy of colony ships carrying fewer than 1 million civilians vanished into unexplored space under the protection of experimental quantum cloaking fields. While Earth and its fleets fought a hopeless last stand, these ships disappeared beyond every charted route. The sacrifice of billions bought enough time for the convoy to escape. Hidden within the nebula, the survivors rebuilt, not merely their civilization, but their understanding of science itself. Isolated from galactic politics, driven by the memory of Earth's destruction, humanity advanced faster than anyone believed possible. Artificial intelligence evolved into trusted partners instead of servants. Fusion gave way to singularity power. Biology merged with nanotechnology. Entire planets became living computers. They did not prepare for revenge. They prepared to ensure no civilization would ever again face extinction. The admirals demanded proof. The elderly woman simply nodded. Outside their windows, the stars themselves seemed to bend. One of the enormous black ships moved without engines, slipping between points in space as though distance no longer existed. Another gently reached out with streams of shimmering nanomaterial and repaired a damaged alien cruiser whose reactor had begun failing during the journey. Within minutes, the ancient vessel was restored to better than new condition. The aliens watched in stunned silence. This was not merely advanced technology, it was civilization operating centuries beyond anything the galaxy possessed. Yet elsewhere in the galaxy, not everyone welcomed humanity's return. The Dominion, the empire that had led Earth's extermination centuries earlier, refused to believe the reports. Their supreme marshal dismissed the exploration fleet as cowards manipulated by elaborate deception. Determined to erase the embarrassment once and for all, he ordered the largest military force ever assembled to invade Colony Atlas. More than 100,000 warships converged on the hidden system, carrying planet-killer weapons capable of sterilizing entire solar systems. Confident in overwhelming numbers, the Dominion broadcast a single message toward the colony. Humanity was meant to die. This time, we finished the hunt. The elderly woman listened quietly before turning toward a young officer standing beside her. He had never seen Earth except through archived recordings, yet its memory lived within every heartbeat of the colony. She smiled gently. They still believe they are the hunters. The young officer nodded and activated a command that had remained untouched for nearly 3 centuries. Across the hidden system, billions of lights awakened. The hunt was over. Humanity had been waiting, the command echoed through every orbital ring, every lunar fortress, every hidden station buried beneath the oceans of Colony Atlas. For 287 years, humanity had prepared for exactly one possibility, that the galaxy would eventually find them and choose war instead of peace. Massive structures that the alien scouts had mistaken for space habitats unfolded like mechanical flowers, revealing layer upon layer of defensive systems unlike anything the galaxy had imagined. Entire asteroid belts rearranged themselves into perfectly aligned formations, each rock transforming into autonomous battle platforms connected through a quantum intelligence network. The black ships resting silently around the system ignited not with flames or plasma but with ripples in space itself, as though reality recognized them as its rightful masters. The Dominion fleet emerged from hyperspace expecting terrified refugees. Instead, they found an entire civilization calmly waiting. Their flagship transmitted one final ultimatum. Surrender your technology and submit to Dominion authority. Resist, and your species ends today. The message barely finished before a reply arrived, not from the elderly woman, but from every human vessel simultaneously. Negative. We already survived our extinction. Then the stars moved. The Dominion admirals watched in horror as space around their fleet folded inward like water flowing into an invisible drain. Their formation shattered instantly. Battleships that had entered the system side by side suddenly found themselves separated by millions of kilometers, isolated and unable to support one another. Navigation computers screamed impossible errors. Distances no longer obeyed physics. Before a single Dominion weapon could lock onto a target, sleek human interceptors slipped through the distorted battlefield with surgical precision. Yet they did not fire. Instead, beams of pale blue light washed across enemy vessels, disabling weapons, shutting down reactors, and sealing ammunition bays without harming a single crew member. Confusion spread throughout the Dominion ranks. Humanity had every opportunity to destroy them, but refused. The Supreme Marshal interpreted restraint as weakness. Furious, he ordered the activation of the Dominion's ultimate weapon, a stellar execution lance capable of collapsing an entire sun into a supernova. The colossal cannon required thousands of ships linking their reactors together, creating enough energy to erase Colony Atlas in a single blast. As the charging sequence began, the elderly human woman closed her eyes. Around her, younger officers waited silently for permission. Finally, she whispered, "Release Sentinel." Somewhere beneath the surface of Atlas Prime, beneath kilometers of crystal and alloy, something ancient awakened. Across the battlefield every sensor, every scanner, every quantum detector registered the same impossible reading. A single object was rising from the planet's core, and its energy output exceeded that of the system's own star. The vessel emerged slowly, its immense hull stretching thousands of kilometers through space. It was not merely a battleship. It was an artificial world shaped into the form of a ship, its surface covered with forests, oceans, cities, and glowing rivers of energy. Entire mountain ranges formed its armor. Gigantic engines burned silently behind continents. The words etched across its bow appeared in every known language at once: HES Resolve. It had been humanity's final project before Earth's destruction, a mobile sanctuary designed to carry civilization beyond extinction. While the galaxy celebrated victory centuries ago, Resolve had remained hidden, evolving itself through self-repairing technology and the guidance of countless human and artificial minds. It had become far more than a ship. It had become the living memory of Earth. The Dominion fired first. The stellar execution lance unleashed a beam brighter than a newborn sun, capable of erasing planets from existence. Billions across the galaxy watched through military broadcasts, expecting the human sanctuary to vanish. Instead, the beam struck an invisible barrier surrounding Resolve and simply stopped. The energy did not explode or scatter. It froze in place, suspended like liquid light. Seconds later, the barrier absorbed the attack completely. The stars dimmed for an instant as Resolve redistributed the captured energy throughout its vast structure. Human cities lit brighter. Civilian transports accelerated. Agricultural worlds received enough power to sustain generations. The Dominion had unknowingly fueled the very civilization they intended to destroy. Silence gripped the battlefield. Then Resolve answered. No weapon fired. No explosion erupted. Instead, every Dominion ship suddenly experienced perfect stillness. Time itself slowed around the invading fleet. Crew members could still think, but their movements became impossibly slow, trapped within a localized temporal field. Human rescue vessels calmly entered the frozen formation, removing civilians, medics, engineers, and even frightened cadets before towing the powerless warships safely away from one another. Not a single life was lost. When time returned to normal minutes later, Dominion soldiers discovered they had been completely defeated without suffering casualties. Their weapons were gone. Their reactors were offline. Their prisoners had become their rescuers. The broadcast of the battle spread across every inhabited world within hours. For the first time in recorded history, an empire that had never known defeat had been overcome without bloodshed. Millions began questioning the stories they had been taught about humanity. If these were the monsters the Council had feared, why had they spared every enemy? Why had they healed damaged ships instead of destroying them? Why had they answered genocide with mercy? Across countless systems, old government archives were reopened. Buried evidence surfaced revealing that humanity had not started the ancient war at all. The conflict had begun with political lies, manipulated evidence, and leaders desperate to unite the galaxy against a common enemy. The greatest genocide in galactic history had been built upon deception. As outrage spread through the stars, the Supreme Marshal refused to surrender. Humiliated before the entire galaxy, he escaped aboard a stealth command vessel carrying one final secret: coordinates to an ancient superweapon left behind by a civilization older than any living species. If activated, it could consume entire galaxies. Watching the fleeing ship disappear into hyperspace, the elderly woman sighed softly. "He has chosen fear over wisdom," she said. The young officer beside her looked toward the distant stars. "Should we stop him?" The old woman nodded once. Yes. Behind them, the colossal engines of HES Resolve awakened. For the first time since Earth had fallen nearly 3 centuries before, humanity left the safety of Colony Atlas, not to conquer the galaxy, but to save it once again.